Hello, I'm CJ Wellerman. Please don't forget to subscribe to our show. Now let's get into it. When it comes to understanding the word love, the Western world needs to undertake a seismic cultural shift towards the religion of Islam, because it needs to love the Islamic faith just as much as it loves Buddhism, Hinduism, and Christianity. So in the remainder of this episode, I will not only explain why the Western world should love Islam, but also how the Judeo-Christian world hijacked the religion of love title from Islam to advance Christianity, European colonialism, and the State of Israel. But first, I want to share with you something that warmed my heart this week. A group of Australian students travelled to Malaysia to visit a mosque, learn about Islam, and hear the call to prayer for their very first time.
And the different architecture. But all the mosques in the world, they have the same pictures inside. This is the direction facing Mecca. See, this is the direction. And men, women, children comes to the mosque. Men, women, children come to the mosque.
These young Aussies walked away from this experience with an incredible first-hand insight into what it means to be Muslim, while also having a greater appreciation for Islam and its unmistakable call for love, equality, justice, and peace. I urge every non-Muslim to follow in their footsteps, because it's the only way you can decolonize your mind from the Western media-led lies you've been fed about Islam for decades. You see, whenever I ask a non-Muslim to tell me the first word that comes to mind when they hear Islam, they almost never say the word love. In fact, it's usually the opposite of that. They typically associate it with terrorism, violence, or even hatred.
We believe that Muslim terrorists, a good 20% of Muslims, are as bad as the 12% of Germans who are Nazis.
Nothing wrong with Muslims. It's radical Islam, that's the problem.
Troublemakers.
They need to get their religion in order.
This is not surprising, given the Western media earns huge profits from vilifying Muslims and Islam as a threat to Western civilization and values. A recent study found that 60% of articles on mainstream media platforms contain negative portrayals of Muslims.
From 2018 to 2020, the center analyzed 48,000 online articles and 5,500 broadcast clips from 34 British media outlets and 38 television channels, and found widespread use of anti-Islam and anti-Muslim language.
As you can see, fear and hatred of Islam is not rooted in reality, but instead has been carefully manufactured by the media, right-wing political parties, and Israel, all of whom profit handsomely by untying Islam from its moorings of love. Therefore, it's critically important that we demonstrate to Westerners the forces that have led them to associate other mainstream religions with love, but not Islam. Well, I'm here to tell you. It's because Islam has not been carefully curated for Western consumption, the same way other religions that originate from the same part of the world have. For instance, both Christianity and Islam were born in the predominantly Arab Middle East, with Jesus born in the Palestinian town of Bethlehem, and the Prophet Muhammad born only a short hop, skip and a jump away in Mecca. Now, while I'm never going to share with you an image of the Prophet, because doing so would be totally disrespectful to Islam, I can tell you, however, that this is what Jesus would have looked like as a Palestinian Jew, according to the world's leading anthropologists. Basically, he looks pretty much like anybody else whose grandparents were born in the Palestinian West Bank. But thanks to the persuasive power of American propaganda, the West has come to imagine Jesus as though he were born on a soybean farm in Nebraska before becoming a long-haired hippie during the civil rights movement of the 1960s. Interestingly, this image was drawn by an artist in Chicago during the 1920s and was spread throughout the United States by a wide range of churches during the following decade. By the 1940s, the picture was so ubiquitous that it became the official picture of Jesus to accompany American soldiers into battle during the Second World War. So when US soldiers liberated Europe from the Nazis, this picture was shared in cities across Europe and the United Kingdom, therefore entrenching the idea that Jesus resembled a white dude from the rural plains of America. In other words, Jesus became an Americanized white guy because in war, as the saying goes, to the victors go the spoils.
Can you
just elaborate a bit on that, how we sort of came to have this widely accepted depiction.
I don't know how widely accepted it is. I think it is Westernly accepted. When we read the Bible and the expansion of Christianity, we're actually talking about its Western movement.
Today, the effort to make Jesus white has reached bizarre and comical heights.
Just because it makes you feel uncomfortable doesn't mean it has to change. You know, I mean, Jesus was a white man too, but you know, it's like he was a historical figure. I mean, that's a verifiable fact, as is Santa. I just want the kids watching to know that.
It's important to understand how American propaganda and manipulation drives this character of Jesus, because it illustrates how Christianity has come to be associated in the Western mind with the concepts of love and peace, therefore leaving Islam wrongly associated with hate and violence. You see, this picture reinforces the notion that Jesus was a free-loving, angelic-looking hippie who brought comfort and aid to the poor and the sick, and mercy and forgiveness to his adversaries. In this caricature, Jesus embodies everything we have come to interpret as the meaning of love. On the flip side, however, the Prophet Muhammad has been wrongly portrayed in the West as a violent, womanizing warrior who conquered the Arabian Peninsula with brute force. This characterization could not be more wrong, and nor could it be more contradictory to the eyewitness accounts of his life as depicted in the Islamic hadiths. I mean, there can be no greater argument supporting Islam as a religion of peace than the name of the religion itself, because Islam literally means peace in Arabic, therefore making violence and aggression contradictory to the Islamic religion. But before we go on, we urgently need your help to counter injustices in the Muslim world. So please support my journalism at patreon.com/CJWellerman. You'll be helping me bring these stories to a wider audience. Thank you. Now back to our show. In the Quran, Muslims are encouraged to live and let others live in peace, and to adopt the qualities of kindness, love, and respect for others. The Prophet proselytized the importance of forgiveness over revenge and to see the best in others. The Quran also says harming a single person is the equivalent of harming all of mankind. But despite these realities about Islam, Western countries still wrongly associate their religion with violence and hate. It's also important to note here that contrary to American depictions of Jesus Christ, the Christian Messiah did not advocate peace on earth, telling his followers exactly that when he said, "I have come not to bring peace, but a sword." But Islam, on the other hand, shuns such language, urging Muslims to love God, love his prophet, and love others for the sake of God, including your family, neighbors, and strangers. Islam's call for love explains much about our understanding of human history. You see, at the same time, Muslims were leading the world in science and human discovery during the Middle Ages, while living harmoniously among Christians and Jews in what we imagine to be the Middle East. Christians in Europe, on the other hand, were focused on burning books and heretics, while sending crusader armies to Jerusalem and beyond to mass murder Muslims and Jews. This is undeniable history. The caliphates that followed the foundation of Islam, spreading from modern Pakistan to Portugal, encouraged knowledge and cosmopolitan culture, which is why philosophy, theology, algebra, chemistry, and engineering all thrived under the leadership of Islamic caliphs. Today, Muslims living in the West have a simple message to the Christian world, one that has been literally plastered on billboards across America. Islam loves Jesus. So isn't it time Americans and other Western peoples reciprocate the favor by embracing Islam as a religion of love? The answer is a resounding yes. But that said, Muslims have a responsibility here too, because they need to proclaim Islam's message of love loudly and clearly to overcome the Western media's distortion of their religious faith. And for those who worry that this statement will be drowned out by the noise of social media, whose algorithms prioritize division and hate, I want you to know this. The idea that Islam is a religion of love is new and novel to many non-Muslims, and therefore I can assure you this message will grab their attention. It will, and it must. Anyway, that's my time for today. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and we kindly ask you please support this endeavor by becoming a member of this show at patreon.com/CJWellerman. We can't produce, sustain, and grow this show without your help, and we offer exclusive benefits to those who do. But for now, good night, good morning, wherever you are, and stay blessed.